Welcome to day 94. Woohoo! Big milestone, the big 9-4. And it feels like a tendon in my neck snapped. So that's concerning. I can never get enough of these green fields that just go on forever. Don't ask me why, but this is my favorite part of like walking across continents. Is you just find yourself in these little beautiful parts of the world that nobody goes to on purpose and nobody really notices when they're here. I love how it makes you slow down. It's just functional. It just does its job. It's not begging for attention. It deserves the attention in a very understated way that's hard to put to words. The perpetual wind is giving off southern Idaho vibes, as well as a little bit of Kansas and North Texas. That's okay. It's keeping us cool. It is actually worth the price. I'm really happy to be here right now. Blue clouds is inaccurate. Blue sky, white clouds, yellow sun, black dog, green grass. It's a good place to be. Oh, I just fell over. I do feel really lucky. Alright, we've now left the town of Vikingstad and are on our way to the next little village slash hamlet, if you will. A lot of the agricultural buildings here in Sweden are really impressively made. Like, they use brick and they're huge, which is both an expensive material and time consuming, especially at this scale. So I have to wonder if some of these old things are remnants of like royal installations back in the day when they didn't really care about how much effort it took because the peasants were doing it for them. Plus, it looks like this one has a swimming pool. So that's clearly a sign of wealth. I know it's not a swimming pool, but I don't know what it is. If you do, I would love to know. And you can tell me in the comments, because that's something that YouTubers say. So, quaint. Sweden has a lot of history. And so there's a lot of these old castles and old estates. And this is one of them that's just not in great condition anymore. But it still has all the old outbuildings. And all of this, I'm sure, used to belong to this house right here. And there's all these ornate granite carved entrances, which are just now all overgrown and everything. There are just enough wild blue flowers spaced every couple feet in this field to give it like a blue haze. Maybe a lavender. Anybody know the translation for Vägstorp? These are the old delineations between county lines or city lines or some sort of municipality lines. I think they're quite old. They have more new ones, and honestly I don't even know if these line up with existing lines because of their age. However, it's ironic that they tend to last longer than the modern stuff. I think this will probably be here longer than the new ones will be. Another day, another Circle K. Charging up my power banks and waiting for a YouTube video to upload. He's a patient doggy. Uneventful but peaceful walking for the last 6 hours or so. Break time. My neck is still broken. I really don't know what I did, but it's painful. I saw a video recently and I agree. It said if you heard people chewing next to you, it would slowly drive you insane until you wanted to cause them harm. But when you hear a dog chewing, all you want to do is like smile. He's so cute. We're about 2.5 miles from the next community center. I think it's called Mjölby, according to a man I met named Heinz, like the ketchup, he said. according to Heinz, the second largest manufacturer of forklifts resides in Mjölby. The resides is a weird word, but the plant is here in Mjölby apparently. Or maybe the head company's quartered here. I don't really know. It's funny, I always think the walks are about like the walking. Really, the only interesting stuff happens when I stop walking. I don't know if that's a significant realization or not, but it felt relevant to me. Yeah, the poor puppy gets pooped every day. He's just so tired. He never has any energy left when we're ready. I really wish he had a little more energy so that I didn't feel so bad about, wearing him all out during these walks. But the poor little guy can barely pick his head up at the end of the day. By the time it gets to evening, like right about now, 8 o'clock, he's just got nothing left in the tank. I'm clearly pushing him too hard, and I feel a little bad about that. All those people who keep commenting that I'm pushing Jack too hard, I'm finally realizing how right they are. Dogs weren't meant to walk. They were meant to stay cooped up all day in hotels and apartments, so they didn't have to waste their energy. I'm abusive. What can I say? Sometimes when I find a dead horse, I just like to beat that thing. I can never exactly decide what this channel is. Is it an advice column for the very niche community of people who want to walk very, very far? If so, welcome to this segment. Always carry baby wipes. They're useful for a lot of things, actually, surprisingly, on the road. But I mean, washing my hands, basically taking showers. This one was just used to wash my hands because they were kind of grody. The handlebar gets kind of nasty after a while, it turns out. I remember when I first saw these signs that I'm about to show you when I arrived in Norway. I was a little confused. I was like, is that really what they're saying? Because it seems like a weird way to communicate it. These signs right here. Mjölby, the town, is that way. So if you were driving this way, you'd see these signs, and it says basically that the town's not that way. It's the other way. And I'm not sure who they're helping, who's that confused. They're like, man, I don't understand. We were in a town, and now it's just so rural. And then they see those, and they go, oh, no. That explains it. We've left the town. The town is not this way. We are driving the wrong way if we want to stay in the town. Long-winded explanation for something that did not deserve it. But I've never seen them before until Europe. So if you're an American, like I know at least one of you is, because I think my mom watches some of these, then now you know. Do you understand, Jack? Do you understand what the signs are telling us? Yeah? Because you're so smart. You are so smart? How smart are you? Pretty smart? Extremely smart? Okay, it's long enough. Is it just me, or is that like an exit sign? See that green sign? Right there? I think it's pointing to that door. So there used to be an extension right here. That's pretty nice right there. Pretty nice. There goes another day. We're struggling a little bit to find a suitable place to sleep. I'm not terribly worried. I guess maybe I'm picky. There are couple kinds of woods when you're trying to pick a spot in the woods. This one is pretty overgrown. The vegetation and the underbrush is kind of thick, so it's just hard to get in there and find a clearing. Pine tree woods are kind of the best because the pine needles, when they fall, I think are kind of acidic and they don't allow a lot of ground growth. So it just tends to be flatter, and it's quite nice. So these ones have a lot of other types of trees. Well, maybe I can find something. We'll see. We're quite near a town. Like there's soccer fields, maybe 30, 40 feet behind me, and houses maybe 90 feet to the right. I've seen other long distance people like me who are quite okay with sleeping on the edges of like sports fields, and maybe sometimes they get permission two reasons I think they feel okay with that is a lot of them are early risers. So they're up and at them before anybody could find them in that spot. I am not an early riser. I just never have been. I've tried for years. Irrelevant. And two, maybe they got permission. I never know who to contact. And like I mentioned, not an early riser. Funnily enough, I don't know if funnily is a word. Funny enough, that is a hotel. Good morning. Checking on a Snickers bar. You hungry? Someone told me that the farther south I go, the less mosquitoes there will be. I don't know if this can be attributed to that, but maybe. There's not as many mosquitoes at this particular camping spot. Yes! That's a weird reaction. Okay, so here's the 411. We are in a town called Mjölby. Also, sidebar, I'm going to pronounce towns the way they look like they're phonetically written in English. Unless I've already been told how to pronounce them, because or else I just am never going to get them. Right now I'm in Mjölby, which I've been told is how it's pronounced. The next town is called Odeshag, but it's got 2 umlauts, so I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced. It's about 20 miles away, and it's right on the shores of what looks like to be Sweden's largest or second largest inland lake. Come on, look at these lupines. I know they're invasive, but wow. That is pretty. We're walking. That is a potato. I promise you I'm about to improve on getting people's face on camera. Because I'm about to start to tell people like, hey, I do vlogs. They're crappy. Want to be on one? I think that's going to be a good selling point. The other guy's name was Kozmil. He was driving by in a truck. Just hopped out when he saw the sign, which is why I have it. It just inspires conversations. And he was super enthusiastic. He's like, how is it? Do you like it? Is it fun? You've been walking? He's just very enthusiastic. I like that. Also, it looks like that robot travels by itself around the field dragging a hose so it can water without needing underground watering systems. And I like that a lot. The store might only have candy. And would you look at that? There he be, like a good boy, like a good neighbor. Jack stays where he's supposed to be. I've never been to this store before. It's the dollar store. I know that little sign that didn't show you anything, but they're pretty annoying and pretty smart. You can't get to the grocery section until you've wound through everything else. They have walls, so you can't like cut through. It's pretty annoying, but you can see why they do it, except for the fact that it makes me not want to go back. It may seem like kind of a gloomy day, but as long as it doesn't rain, this is actually the perfect weather for walking. Walking. I've decided that every shot of just like the landscape while I'm walking is now going to have a sound effect. Boing, 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 boing. I love these little thingies. I'm about to show you one of the cutest things I've seen. Look at this building dedicated to just like having a little lunch place or a little breakfast nook or a little grill eating area. It's just a tiny little outbuilding. That's all it has in it is a table and chairs and a grill. That is so cute. I love that idea. The wind making these rippling things in the grass is everything. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to get rained on at least once today. There's just a lot of these storm movements all over us. Well, I was terribly right. I was hoping not to be right so soon. Darn. Now, of course, we're out in the middle of nowhere. I found this little shed. We were running down the road trying to get to some sort of break. The door's closed and it looks like it's been closed for a long time. Squirtle, squirtle. We were in a town, which means there would have been lots of little buildings and stuff. But the next little population center with a bus stop that actually has like a little covered shelter thingy is for 2 miles. You can get really wet in 40 minutes, which is how long it takes to walk 2 miles. Woohoo! That was a pretty miserable 2 miles, I'll be honest. I like few things less than getting wet. on that list is probably getting punched in the face, losing my feet to infection when they need amputated, being burned at the stake, stuff like that. Dabba-dee-dabba-die. Knock knock. Next up, Vaderstad. Clip clop, clip clop, clip clop. I'm deciding this will be the first of a segment I'm calling cultural crumpets, i.e. a little morsel of some local learning for you. I believe there are 4 Nordic nations: Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark. Incidentally, Finland is a pretty young country. It was part of Sweden for forever, until about 200 years ago. At that point, it was lost to the Russians, and then it eventually became its own country, getting its freedom and separation from Russia. Every step you take. Each of those nations speaks their own distinct language. Finnish is like nothing else on the planet, except maybe sort of Hungarian. Norwegian and Sweden speak fairly similar languages. Rebecca the Swede says they're almost dialects more than true distinct languages. And then she said Danish is sort of like if you were trying to speak Swedish but through a potato. I'm not sure what that means, but that's been your cultural crumpet for the day. Thanks for tuning back in, and now we will resume our normal programming. Beep bop boop beep beep. That was the tune I made up for cultural crumpets. Something tells me that somebody likes Zen gardens. Beep borp. Take all day wind over all day rain any day. Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to Vaderstad. Every small town like this has a pizzeria that kind of all look the same, every town. And then like usually a small grocery store. It's actually a pretty nice system, so if you just want the basics, you don't have to go to a bigger town. They're pretty ubiquitous and they're pretty nice. I like the fact that there's always a pizzeria. Pretty cold. Pretty cold. Earthen ramps. I love them. Come on, tell me that's not scenic. That is picturesque. Yes, I took a picture of it. My perfect walking weather has gotten a little chilly. It's really cold, actually. Wow. That is not the kind of architecture that I would expect for a building that looks like that. I've never heard of this concept. It says the National Property Board of Sweden. It is part of the heritage everyone in Sweden jointly owns through the state. It's a good way of phrasing government. Here's a runestone that they have. I've never seen one that's carved on all the sides. And this one at least doesn't appear to be a snake. There's a whole little exhibit over there talking, I think, about this, maybe at the church too. I wonder if we've got translations for it. I haven't checked yet. Okay, this is genuinely fascinating, but if you're not into history, maybe you won't consider it. But it does look like they have a breakdown of all the runes and what they mean. Unfortunately, it's all written in Swedish. In Google Translate is more like functional rather than helpful. They do have it written in English on these little laminated pieces of paper. However, I think most of those laminated pieces of paper are gone. You can see this one's like almost gone, and I think a lot of them met the same fate. But from what I can understand, from the ones that still exist, like this one, the stone was written by a father for his son after his son died in the 9th century. And what's interesting / fascinating about it is that they can read all the runes, so they figure that out, but they're having a really hard time figuring out what it means because it's talking in metaphors that were only relevant in the 9th century. So like this one talks about a bunch of kings. It says that it talks about his son and how he's dedicating this rock to him, but then it talks about all these like legends and tales. So basically it says like the most common opinion is that in honor of his son Vemod, it alludes at a number of tales and myths known at the 9th century, and in some cases may have been connected to Varens. However, like it says later, there is a cycle of kings, 20 of them that were in groups of 4. Unfortunately, this cycle and these sagas are unknown to us today. So that little piece of history that we can understand tells us about many, many more depths of history that have been just totally lost. I think they were giving like an explanation of the area as it looked at the time. and as like the world looked at the time, which is complicated and intricate. But not this dog. He's just a happy, sleepy, happy, cute little boy. Well, if that ain't one of the prettiest things you ever saw. Beep boop, skiddly doop. Look at those colors. That is so green and so blue. It's another one of those days and another one of those roads that are just obscenely pretty. I know that's not great content, but man, does it make you feel good just to be out here. There's something about it. Welcome to Haida. Which, I don't know if it's pronounced that yet, because that kind of sounds like hater. He's just a hater. Alright, all these red flowers have to be a crop at this point. There's no way those are all just wildflowers, right? It's an entire field of them. The way the light's hitting them, an entire field of them like this. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's actually blue flowers in there too. Dun, dun, dun. The part of Sweden I've been going through for the last few days has been remarkably, perhaps even famously flat. And so therefore it's been windy and everything associated with flatness. So this hill is drawing my eye a lot. In a place like West Virginia or Pennsylvania, this would be just so run-of-the-mill and uninteresting. But here, it's like a thumb just sticking out in a place where thumbs should not be, like a blender or a toaster or any other kitchen appliance. We're really not supposed to have thumbs there, so it sticks out. It's odd. This is my attempt at the Wilhelm scream. Wow! That wasn't even close. It's so distinct. I'm trying to go fast, but this is my first moose I've seen. Right there. See it? Right below the sign that says you might see a moose. It's my first ever moose in Europe. I've seen a moose in America. But I used to see these signs all the time that said, watch out for moose. You might see a moose. It's the first time I've seen a moose. Two things. One, that's super pretty. Two, that little thing right there, I'm 99% sure, is my home for tonight. It's a shelter like the ones that I always talk about. Someone told me about this one. It said the views are amazing, which is believable since it's the only one on a hill I've ever found. Fortunately, it is up on top of that hill, which means I have to walk to get that high. That's gonna kind of not be that much fun. It's fine, everything's fine. It's very interesting to me to see this style of construction of building, but the massive beams that support the warehouse are all made of lumber instead of metal. That's pretty uncommon. Jack's always making friends. Look at that house. It's a big one. Wow, look at all those porches. I count 7 distinct porch areas. One with a greenhouse on top. I was right. I am having to go uphill. Luckily the path is actually pretty navigable. No roots or rocks. But it is steep. And by it's navigable, I mean it's navigable so far. Things could always digress. Alright, we've made it to the wind shelter. I've actually set up my tent underneath the portion of the wind shelter that's not solid. The back is. But honestly, I just wanted to be right next to this view, which I'm about to show you. We'll build up the suspense a little, because check this out. It's pretty unbelievable. I know nothing comes across on camera as good as it could in person unless you're a really good cinematographer, which I am not, but wow. Given that I will expend many thousands of calories on this walk in total, and getting up here didn't require that many of them, but I will remember this better than most nights. Definitely worth it. That's my bar. You can even see the body of water over there. Not so much on this side, but it is over there behind the trees. Jack seems to like it too. He does like to crawl up on the roof, even though I've told him not to. As you can see, it's kind of easy to crawl up on the roof. It's a natural green roof for a big portion of it, and then upstairs, up a hill, there's a picnic table, a fire ring, there's even a bathroom closer to the trail. I put a reel on Facebook. Maybe you're coming from there. Actually, you probably are, since there's only like 200 of you that watch these videos, but there's more information on a reel that I posted there. It's pretty incredible. I'll share some more shots of it tomorrow morning, and then you can enjoy them then. I'm pretty tired. I want to scratch you. Ding, 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 ding. I have to admit, it's nice to be back in a shelter. It really is. It adds a certain level of comfort and coziness, and feels nice after a couple days off. I think that's going to be it for tonight for us. See you tomorrow. Love you.